GT1, the mother of all GT racing. Check this GT1 mod right here, right now. Greetings petrolheads and welcome to romrom.net, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing and to It's a Mod world where we test different mods for different sims to see if they add to our enjoyment. My name is Serta and I will be your host for this video. Keeping a promise I made on our Discord, we're going to fire up the Ford GT40 GT1 Matech mod for Assetto Corsa, which may be a misnomer as the Ford GT car by Matech that came out in 2007 and raced GT1 at least in 2009 and 2010 was officially called the Matech Ford GT1. Of course, this car is the successor in spirit of the Ford GT40 that raced at Le Mans in 1966, but still, somehow all those mod makers calling it a GT40 Matech either know something we don't know or are plain wrong. I'll call it the Ford GT40 nevertheless, as this is the name mod makers Assetto Garage gave this mod. It was quite difficult for us to get consistent information about it as different sources had different data and sadly there was no way for us to corroborate any of that. Before we start checking out the mod, remember to subscribe and click on the bell to be informed about all things sim racing in our channel. Looks rough. Clearly a low resolution mod, as you can see by the many edges and artifacts. It still dropped my FPS in VR to around 30. Also, on VR there are some things looking 3D that should not, and overall the interior looks quite plasticky. There's more polished mods around there and maybe in the future we'll go looking for a more polished mod showing this car. Also, the animation for changing gears is wrong. It's moving as if using an H shifter, while this car clearly uses a sequential shifter lever. The force feedback is acceptable, with some fine details here and there, but all in all, nothing special. Clearly good enough for a fine Ford GT40 drive. For the first 20 minutes or so, the driving experience was quite good, but after that, the drivability went down and the car was all over the place. Added to that, if you want to drive this car fast, you'll have to change your way of dealing with brakes, gear changes, throttle points and braking pressure. All these were, at least to me, from slightly to completely different to where and how I'm accustomed to do them, so I had to rewire my brain completely. Mind you, for me, this is not a bad thing. It just is. And personally, I'd say it's even a good thing as it forces me to think differently. It's a welcome challenge as it keeps me on my toes. And I think all this has more to do with the behavior of the car on high speed than with the mod, as it was also quite fiddly to control in a racing situation. Well, it's a GT1 monster. I should have expected that. Oh, and it eats up your tires like there's no tomorrow. After half an hour practicing, my soft tires were in the yellow, and while I push this car to its limits and over, I expect a similar result when not pushing as hard as I did. Based on the behavior of this car in all other things, I'd really be surprised if it were any other way. Use that sweet Ford GT40 acceleration to beat the AI. Do it! Else the AI is going to try to get you all the time. Well behaved as it is, it still finds and goes for any gap you leave and is relentless, using any error you will do. And believe me, with this car, you will be making errors. Unless you're really experienced or an alien. The sound programming is strange. It growls on neutral, has an okay sound on low revs, and when you go fast or on high revs, it changes completely. As if it were two sounds unnaturally put together, like a lion and a cheetah in the body of a puma. Or something similar, you get my meaning. Also, you'll hear only two sounds, the motor and a clunk when changing gears. No turbo whining, no high pitch brakes, nothing. And yes, the car is so loud you'd be excused if you would think the motor sounds drown all other out, but this is not the case. Forget the mediocre look and the so-so sound. Driving this car was intense because of the car, and that is worth a lot. The force feedback is good enough to give you a good immersion and the right feel of the car. And this is not an easy car to drive, but when you get it right, it's a fast car. You have to work more to get you and the car in the right mode. It's clearly not recommended for beginners and only for some advanced drivers. You will have to be very alert to what the car is doing and react fast to it, which makes it even more difficult to race, as you have to be alert to what the car is doing and what the others are doing. It had me sweating and swearing a lot. On the other hand, it's a pity the look and the sound are not that good. We'll try to find a better mod than this, as I have a feeling the car's worth being driven the right way, and maybe there's another mod with finer force feedback in our database or out there. There are surely and absolutely other videos about other mods in our channel, so check the playlist to the left or the video to the right. Until next time, save fuel, collect pickup, and we'll see each other at the podium.
Visit romrom.net to connect to fellow sim racers and sim racing fans.